So let's move on to question number 13. Let us read it first. Fish whose DNA has been modified to include genetic material from other species are known as transgenic. Some transgenic fish have genes from jellyfish that result in fluorescence, that is, they glow in the dark. Although these fish were initially engineered for research purposes in the 1990s, they were sold as pets in the 2000s and can now be found in the wild in creeks in Brazil. A student in a biology seminar who is writing a paper on these fish asserts that their escape from Brazilian fish farms into the wild may have significant negative. So he says that, or he feels that he's asserting that they have significant negative long-term ecological effects. So which quotation from a researcher would best support these students' assertion? So the text starts off with, telling us what is a transgenic fish and how transgenic fish have genes from jellyfish and result in fluorescence, that is, they will glow in the dark. And they were engineered for research purposes and then they were sold as pets. But they were recently found in the wild also. They cannot be found in the wild. So now a student in a biology seminar, he is writing a paper and he feels that, or he says that this will have a negative long-term ecological effect. So we need something to support the student's assertion. Would it be A, in one site in the wild where transgenic fish were observed, females outnumbered males, while in another, the numbers of females and males were equivalent. B, though some presence of transgenic fish in the wild has been recorded, there are insufficient studies of the impact of those fish on the ecosystems into which they are introduced. C, the ecosystems into which transgenic fish are known to have been introduced may represent a subset of the ecosystems into which the fish have actually been introduced. Or D, through interbreeding, transgenic fish might introduce the trait of fluorescence into wild fish populations, making those populations more vulnerable to predators. So which do you think could be a negative effect? So again, many of these answers, they are not correct, so it's very easy to eliminate the wrong answers. In fact, A is incorrect because this quotation doesn't mention any negative effects of the introduction of fluorescent transgenic fish into the wild. The quotation merely compares the ratio of females to males at the two sites in the wild where transgenic fish have been observed. And B is incorrect because this quotation doesn't support the idea that the escape of fluorescent transgenic fish from Brazilian fish farms may have a significant long-term ecological effect. Rather, the quotation suggests that more research is needed to understand the effects. So it's just insufficient studies. And C is also incorrect because this quotation supports the idea that the transgenic fish may be present in more ecosystems than has been observed, but it doesn't address whether the presence of fluorescent transgenic fish affects these ecosystems. So definitely choice D is the best answer. This is the best answer because this quotation would best support the student's assertion that the escape of transgenic fish from Brazilian fish farms into the wild may have significant negative long-term ecological effects. The text explains that transgenic fish have DNA that includes genetic material from other species and that some transgenic fish have genes from jellyfish that make them glow in the dark, and that glow in the dark transgenic fish can now be found in the wild in Brazilian creeks. So the quotation indicates why the escape of these fish may have negative long-term ecological effects, because what will happen, glow in the dark transgenic fish might introduce fluorescence into wild fish populations by breeding with wild fish. Then that will cause wild fish to glow in the dark and that will allow the predators to prey on them much more easily. So the translucence will have an impact on the wild fish if these fish, these trans fish start breeding with the wild fish. So that can support the student's assertion that it will have a negative long-term ecological effect.